Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our results presentation for our results up to the 30th of June. So hopefully what we'll do today is that we will be able to talk to you about why we believe that we're a tried, tested and proven solution for leading omnichannel retailers. And the first point I suppose I make is don't judge us by what we say, judge us by the company that we keep. Particularly in the year, we've seen some wins, which we'll talk to you about, but also contract renewals from Sainsbury's, Asda and JD, I think consolidating that position. One of the reasons why we are the best in class for this sort of business is because the scale and speed of our platform, 200 million personalized offers weekly, 2.1 billion transactions on the platform this year. And it's the speed and scale and security that we're able to do that at that makes us stand out for these people. What these businesses are looking for is the ability to talk on a one-to-one basis to their customers. And of course, as their businesses become omnichannel, their customers appear in different places, in different guises. They appear in their shops, they appear on their app, they appear on their websites, through email, through loyalty card, etc. So what they need to do is they need to be able to pull all that data together, structure that data, and then analyze it to work out what the next best message is to send each individual consumer. Given the relatively low cost of storing data these days and the advent of AI, they are literally able to get to the next best message for that specific consumer, and then they hit a problem. And the problem that they hit is that their transactional capability will not allow those many millions of messages to flow through to their customers. So that's where Eagle Eye comes into play. We do enable that. We basically take all the weight of doing these transactions from the point of sale and move it to the cloud. And it is that transactional capability, the linking together of their website, their stores, their app, all their touch points that we facilitate that enables them to move to a truly omnichannel experience, which is what they're trying to create for their customers. We've had a good year, I hope you'll agree. Strong trading. We were impacted by COVID in the second half, but managed to keep the business growing. We have won new clients where we're sort of in implementation and now in early stage of transacting in 2 new geographies. We'll talk to you today about the work that we've done in the US and how we think that puts us in a very strong position to go forward in the US market. The business has grown substantially and has innovated, but has actually controlled costs extremely well. And all of that we'll talk a bit more about during our presentation. But we think we've made excellent progress against our objectives. Clearly, like every other business, and we've been impacted by COVID. You can see on the right there the impact, the immediate shock of lockdown. And that's actually grocers switching off their and we haven't got any toilet paper. We don't need to be sending out any promotions. You can see they quickly recovered from that and got back into pretty much BAU. But you can see that there is that bit of a step down there. And that is the 10% of group revenue, which is either brands who are seeking to promote to food and beverage outlets or our food and beverage clients themselves. I think we've responded extremely well to COVID in the management of our business, and we'll talk about our better, simpler, cheaper approach and how we've managed the cash and also how we've changed our ways of working as a result of COVID. But generally, I think we have responded. When we met you last, which I think we had literally just gone into lockdown, we talked about, I thought we were a business that would be COVID-19 resilient, and I think we have been proven to be that. In terms of current trading, the grocers are cracking on and others are starting to use the platform. We have created some COVID solutions. We'll talk a bit about those. There is some recovery in F&B and non-grocery. It's not back to pre-COVID levels, but it's maybe half the way back. There may be some delay in people making decisions, but on the other hand, I think there are some people who are saying the world is now changed, it's much more digital, we've got to crack on. So, I think that will become clearer as the year goes on. As I said, I think the most important thing in a crisis like this is your people and the way that your people respond. We try to have a very strong culture as a business focused on meeting clients' needs. We endeavour to be a great place to work. This shot is from our virtual company day. Some of the attendees, some of them wearing purple wigs, you may notice. Purple is we talk about being purple. Purple are our values. You can see those listed at the bottom. We work very hard with the business to bring those to life and to recognise them when we see them. We have increased our cross-business communication as a result of lockdown and spend our entire time on Zoom talking to anything from 1 to 150 different people. And we've also worked hard in this difficult year to also address the issues of diversity and inclusion, and to make sure that our people feel that we are doing the right things in those areas. And I think that has all worked extremely well in the year. Just finally, the markets, I say this to you every year, that the markets are gargantuan. And for a business that has revenues of 20 million, that's why I always say very small movements in market share can be transformational for us. I think the new news is that the pandemic, as has been well publicized, you all know, 5 years in 5 months and that sort of thing, that there's been an acceleration to e-commerce. Pure plays, bricks and mortar retailers have, without an omnichannel presence, have struggled. Omnichannel is clearly the way forward. And what we do is we help businesses to be able to pull together all the elements of their omnichannel business into one place, and for it to then be visible and present with consumers digitally. So I think we are in a very good position in a market that is huge and actually benefiting from growth as a result of the crisis. I'm now going to hand over to Lucy, who will take you through the numbers.
Great, thanks, Tim. Morning, everybody. So I'm pleased to first of all, introduce our key KPIs for the year. We've had strong growth of 21% at a revenue level, going from 16.9 million to 20.4 by delivering on our customer strategy. We'll talk about all the elements of that in slides ahead. Recurring revenue stays strong at 73%, and actually a slight uptick from last financial year. We've made tremendous progress in our adjusted EBITDA levels. FY19 had 0.7 million, and this year we've achieved 3.3 million. We remain to have very low levels of churn, so 0.9% of value. This time last year it was 0.8%. But if you couple that with the renewals that Tim talked about earlier on, it really does demonstrate, or continues to demonstrate, that Eagle Eye is incredibly sticky. We've had great performance on cash. We ended up at the end of the year with cash of 1.5 million, which was a cash inflow of 2.8 million. FY19 had an outflow of 1.6. I'll talk a lot more about cash later on. The platform continues to perform incredibly well. Huge volumes going through the platform this year, 2.1 billion, an increase of 140%. So great KPIs all round. For those of you who are not aware of the business model, I know a lot of you are. This is a reminder of that. We charge implementation fees to join the platform, and then our recurring element is license to access the platform, and then transaction fees. We also split out SMS because they have slightly different gross margin, which I'll explain on a slide in a minute. I think the most important things to note here are sort of twofold. One, you see growth in each of the categories. And secondly, the element of license and transaction fees, so the real sticky bit and strategic bit, that has grown at a higher level, 25%, compared to the overall growth of 21%. This next slide is giving you a little bit more colour on those volumes going through the platform. So I've talked about sort of the volumes and that growth metric. But explaining that a little bit more, you can see on the graph on the right-hand side here, we've got last year and this year's volumes, and you can see that the significant uptick is driven by loyalty transactions, which has predominantly been driven by the impact of Sainsbury's and New Nectar going live, and that happened in Q1 this year. There's also, though, an uptick in all the other categories, which is delivering both from existing customers doing more and also new wins in different geographies as well. I also highlight that actually the different categories of solution drive a slightly different price per transaction, and that's an intrinsic link between the value a consumer can get and what we're able to charge. So you can see there that gifts charging a slightly higher price per transaction compared to loyalty, where there's more of an intrinsic link there between the value and what we can charge. This next slide is illustrating the income statement. I've talked about the top line, and as Tim alluded to, we did manage to achieve growth in the second half despite COVID at 3%. Our gross margin is 94%, so slightly ahead of last year. Importantly, the margin of air, the main strategic element, is 97%, and we've maintained that. When we move down to net operating expenses, 15.8 million in the year, a growth of 5%, even though we've achieved at the top line the 21% growth. And sort of that element of increase is coming from a couple of factors. First of all, an increase in staff costs. That is predominantly driven by standard salary increases and commission for the new wins. So that's a relatively small increase of 8% on our staff costs last year. And then in terms of infrastructure, that 0.3 million represents a 6% growth on last year's infrastructure costs. And if you think we've had that 140% increase in volume through the platform for just a 6% growth, Tim will talk later about the impact of moving to GCP, both in relation to cost and sort of technology features. I think as all businesses during COVID, people have looked at their cost base, and sort of we were no exception to that. We made sure that we sort of looked at costs that we naturally could hold back on to allow us the ability to still continue to invest in the areas that we needed to. So we did have a reduction in marketing, travel and admin stuff by 15%, just to give us a bit more flexibility to make sure we could invest where we needed to. People always ask, have we invested in the product? Tim will talk about the features that have been released this year, which is a great list. We invested 4 million into the product, and 2.2 million of that was capitalized. I've talked about the EBITDA profit being an impressive sort of growth metric. At the bottom line, that we're still making a loss, but again, good strides forward in terms of the improvements there. So FY19 was a loss of 2.4 million, and for this period it was 0.5. So again, good strides moving forward. This slide is a breakdown of what that revenue is made up of. I reiterate the point around the stickiness and 73% of revenue being driven by transactions and license fees. But again, there's been growth in all categories. First of all, that implementation revenue has stepped up again. As I often say, that's a good sign because it should allude to more sticky licenses and transaction fees in future periods. I'd also like to just point out, if you take the UK Tier 1 and International, which really our big clients are in those categories, we've had 30% growth, so overall that category is growing at a bigger rate than the overall revenue of the business. So that's a really good sign as well. Next slide has got a lot more detail on the cash movement, but I think it is important to sort of talk about this element. First of all, I mentioned up front the 2.8 million cash inflow compared to 1.6 outflow last year. We have benefited from COVID schemes that we've managed to take advantage of. So examples of that are taking advantage of the government's VAT scheme, negotiating with the sort of deferral of PAYE, speaking to our key suppliers in terms of them helping us out on sort of supplier payment terms, to allow us a little bit of headroom to be able to also look after our customers who have been massively affected as well. So overall, that has given us a benefit of £2 million during the period, and that will unwind in the year ahead. So if you take the starting point of 1.2 million net debt position, you take the operating cash inflow of 6.1, the items there are listed both on the graph and within the bullet, deduct the capex of 2.8 million, and then the balancing figure is the interest that we paid for the facility. You get to a net cash position of 1.5 million at the end of the year. So we feel as if we're in a good position to tackle the year ahead, and we've still got our 5 million facility with Barclays that, if you take the cash and that, is more than enough to prosecute against our plan. We did also announce that we'd extended our facility to September 21. It expired in May 21, so that was for audit purposes to allow us to get through that hurdle. The reason being that we didn't do it for longer is that we're in the process of looking at what does a business as usual lending look like, because we're still in a category with Barclays, which is for sort of young, high growth, loss making businesses. So we expect over the next 12 months to be looking at what does the facility requirements need after that with slightly better terms. I'll pass back to Tim for the strategic update.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Just to remind you then, our strategy remains to win new customers, getting them transacting on the platform, and then to deepen with additional products. And you will remember from previous years, we've talked about a pound of win in year one from a new client, translating to £4 by year 4. In addition to that, and to assist in that process, what we do is we continue to develop new products and to uprate the service to enable us to A, deepen, but also to win. We take all of that to new geographies, and we run the business in this way that we call better, simpler, cheaper, and I'll talk a bit about that later. So in terms of our customer strategy, we've had some nice wins internationally, Southeastern Grocers and the Warehouse Group, and we'll talk about that. So we've got one in Australia, New Zealand. The Warehouse Group is the leading non-food retailer in New Zealand, and Southeastern Grocers is about number 11 in the USA in terms of grocery business. We recently started working with Pret, and in pretty fast order developed with them and launched their coffee subscription, which I'm sure you will all be aware of because it seems to have caught the mood of the nation as a new way of doing business. In terms of transactions, our brand revenues finished the year up 26%, despite the fact that they were really switched off for the last 4 or 5 months. So, it was going well. We've taken the opportunity of lockdown to explain this opportunity to more venues, and we've signed a further 1,000 venues, these are pubs and bars, onto the system, so that we're now able to offer 7,000 outlets where the brands can activate trial of their products and their new products and things like that. In terms of deepen, you can see from the UK performance that there's been an increase of use of the platform by Tier 1, particularly Sainsbury's with the launch of new Nectar. And I've already mentioned that we had 3 significant contract renewals in the year. I wanted to share with you the progress we've made on developing the product in the year, because I think it's important that you understand that whilst we are delivering strong financial results, that is not at the expense of developing and growing the business. So we've improved our ability to handle and move data around the network and the speed at which we do that, and particularly by being able now to make recommendations to consumers before actually furnishing them with fully formed offers. So we've got a lighter way of saying, wouldn't you like one of these? And if they say yes, we then send them the fully formed offer. That means that our ability to get through the tens of millions of recommendations that we make a week is significantly reduced. We've developed a new channel to market, which is message at till, and I'll show you the use case of that, but that's for SEG, which they've launched 6 months after signing a contract with us. We've developed the ability for consumers to personalize their loyalty rewards by allowing our clients, instead of simply exchanging vouchers for grocery, to have a wider range of rewards available and for the consumers to exchange for that, a bit like the Tesco scheme, if you're aware of that. We have created the capability to link your Air wallet to a charity wallet so that you can make donations to particular charities which the retailer can contribute to if they wish. And we have also created the ability for the retailers to create coalition schemes. So, for example, one of our clients wants to enable neighborhood stores to both issue and redeem points in their currency to show what a good neighbor and a good citizen they are. So, we're helping with good citizenship, we're helping with charity, we're helping enrich the loyalty bank, we're helping the data move around the platform, we're creating new issuance channels. The Air product is a significantly better product than it was a year ago. In the advent of COVID, we developed a product called Text and Trace, which was taken up particularly by Green King. This was a relatively small thing and was done in a number of days. So it wasn't a huge investment and it's not a huge revenue earner, but I think it was very important to be able to offer our clients an immediate solution to a problem that they were faced with. Some took it up and others didn't, but nevertheless, they were all impressed that we were able to support them at such speed. I've mentioned earlier, Pret, they have launched their coffee subscription. We are the technology that sits behind that. We enable you to create the financial linkage and then to put your Pret QR code into your native wallet. And I think that seems to be the news on the street at the moment. I think this gone off extremely well and is illustrating a new way that businesses are trying to do business in terms of areas that companies that have not been in the subscription space before, trying to work out how they too can get into the recurring revenue business. And I'm sure we'll see more of this. This is the coupon at till product that we've developed for Southeastern grocers. So when you get your till receipt, it will have a code on it, which you can either present at the till and you keep all bits of paper in your purse, or if you don't want to do that, you can scan it. It will issue the offer digitally, and then you can see the redemption journey that is going there. This is a light and fast integration, which has enabled us to get up and running and get SEG transacting within 6 months of them signing the contract. We work in partnership with Acribo to do it. They're the ones that do the printing on the till receipt, and it's a way of getting to market faster. So just then on the US, we talked about this at our last meeting, but you've got the situation now where with our partner News America, assisted by Dunnhumby doing the analytics, with Acribo doing the printing at till, that coalition of companies, we're able to talk to many businesses in the US, and also actually we're talking with Dunnhumby and Acribo to businesses in other places in the world. So I think that sets us up to have some very good conversations going forward in the US. I talked about being better, simpler, cheaper. First thing to say is that I think we've made great progress being a truly agile business. I think a lot of businesses talk agile. I think we're doing it. Clearly, our software has been produced in an increasingly agile way over about the last 2 to 3 years. And what we've done is we've taken the skills from our agile coaches and applied that more generally to the business more broadly. So we produce software in 2 weekly sprints. We now run the whole business on a quarterly plan and quarterly objectives, and we move resources every quarter dependent upon the opportunities that face us in the coming quarter. In order to do that, we've split the business to take what we call the backbone, the spine of the company, which are those core processes, the running of the business and the running of the platform, which have to be 24/7, 365, and then taking the rest of the people in the business and saying these are a flexible resource. and we can allocate them to wins and we can allocate them to projects. And we're working very closely with the senior leadership team in the business to create that greater level of flexibility. Lucy mentioned the GCP migration. I mean, 140% growth in transaction volumes, leading to a 6% increase in infrastructure costs. When we told you that we were going to GCP, people asked us, you asked us specifically, how productive would it be? Well, there's an answer. I mean, that's an amazing achievement. And going back to my point about being, the natural choice of large businesses, large enterprises around the world for personalized omnichannel offering, you can see it's these improvements in the speed of the platform, the speed of offer allocation. I was talking about that earlier in terms of recommendations leading to offers, and integrating with new point of sale systems. These are all things that you have to do if you want to be relevant for the largest businesses in the world. And I am really confident saying to you that it is the most scalable and robust loyalty and promotions platform on the market. There is nobody that can do the amount of personalization that we do and the speed and accuracy that we do it at. So in terms of outlook then, we've had a positive start to the year. It's in line with our expectations. To be clear, our expectations have some COVID impact within them. And as we said last year, 10% impact, full lockdown, some recovery from that year to date, but it's not back to where it was. So there is still opportunity for that to move around a bit. I think, as Lucy explained, our funding position is strong and comfortable. Our focus, as this presentation is illustrating, I hope, is about building on the back of the digital transformation that's taken place in the retail sector. If you were a business that went into COVID with 10% of your sales going through e-commerce and 90% through shops, you've come out without having shifted to 80-20. So all those irritants about not being able to track customers properly and not being able to piece together all the silos of your business have become significantly more important to you as a result of this. And therefore, our solution is significantly more relevant than it was pre-COVID. We're continuing to invest. I hope I've shown you how we invested in the last year, and we will continue to invest in people and product going forward. And we particularly need to make some investments in the US because of the opportunities that are emerging there. I think we're happy to support the market expectations for our growth. I mean, clearly, there may be some delay in there, and I've talked about food and beverage, but generally, I think we are sufficiently encouraged by the progress of the pipeline, both at home and abroad, that says that I think that the business will continue to grow nicely in the coming year. Thank you very much for listening. We'd be delighted to take questions.
And we'll go to Robin Speakman at SureCap.
Good morning, and congratulations on a great set of results for last year. I'd just like to ask a little bit more about the volumes coming through on the Air platform. On my maths, the increase in volumes through the second half were just shy of 200%. And in that context, I just wondered about the volume development of the new clients. If we use Southeastern Grocers as an example, clearly, that was implemented rapidly through the second half. How do you see them as a client maturing, if you like, through the course of full year 21? What could be the growth rate in volumes that you see in the current year?
The major driver of growth in volumes in the second half of last year was the new Nectar personalised offers feature of the Sainsbury's programme. And you're right, that the next significant lift that we will get in transactions will come internationally. It will come from SEG. We've barely got any transactions going through from SEG. We started, and certainly none that have been seen in any results. So they will start to come through. As I've mentioned to you before, there are about 9 different products that SEG are in a phased rollout, launching to their supply base, which they can use to promote and access SEG customers. And we've just launched the first, and that is scaling up in the next few weeks whilst we're working on the next one, and that will launch in a couple of months' time, and so on with this rolling program. So I think a much more agile way of getting to market, a much faster way of getting to market, and it will bring transactions through faster. But the other thing I think I'd just say about transactions is you can see that the way we have organized our technology, how we can manage the costs while the volumes increase.
Okay. Can I just ask about brands as well? So, I mean, clearly, the fact that you can now, from contract win to deployment, you can kind of go through the integration process in around about 6 months, which is a kind of welcome achievement. When it comes to brands, I mean, how do you see them? I mean, is the brand opportunity growing faster than that with merchants? And how quickly do you think you can act now in bringing a brand on board the platform?
Brands can come on board in a matter of weeks. Indeed, just picking up on the point that you made there, the launch of the Pret subscription was less than 6 months, actually. So I think things are getting faster, but no, brands can come on board quickly. And of course, the big opportunity for brands now is, as I said, this extra 1,000 doors that have come. We're able to create a bigger market for them to promote into, which is obviously more valuable to them. I think the brand market is looking promising, and looking promising for some sort of longer term relationships rather than so much sort of tactical one-off, which, as I say, can be organised in a matter of weeks.
And we'll go to Kevin Ashton from N+1 Singer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Lucy.
Morning, Kevin.
Congratulations. I joined Robin congratulating you on the results. Just a few questions around Google Cloud Platform, actually. As you pointed out in the presentation, infrastructure costs were up just 6%. The first question, I think, really simple is, has everyone been migrated? I suspect the answer is yes, but I'll ask that anyway. And then the second one, and I guess it's more with the new accounts, Southeastern and the Warehouse Group. How different an experience is it to do the implementation work when you're sitting on Google Cloud Platform? And then the third one is follow-up, and I saw the comments from Rackspace about, and in fact, you've talked about them today, about the improvement in transaction speed, and they were talking about a 40% decrease in support calls. I don't know the number or cost, but whether you're able, that must be finding favor, I guess, with new accounts. If you can share some of those kind of improvements in operating KPIs, I can imagine that that's quite an interesting thing to share with clients. So I guess it's about, has everybody migrated? How has it impacted your ability to implement and I guess to source new customers?
Yes, everybody is migrated. If we are going into a new geography, I suppose the difference is immense, Kevin. If you were facing a situation where you needed a new data center, because to put together the data center network we needed for Loblaw was months of work, whereas to open up the Australasia instance of our platform for the Warehouse Group was days. So, not much more than a week. So from that point of view, the difference is huge, I think. We've just done some sort of speed trials and productivity trials just to understand the capabilities of the system. We ran a program over 48 hours where, in effect, what we did was we did something north of 2 Christmases layered on top of each other in 48 hours, and we didn't breach any of our SLAs. And that, when I say 2 Christmases, that's take the Christmas volumes for a major client, like a client that's got more than 10 million customers, double them, run it through the platform for 48 hours, and see what happens. And as I say, we didn't break any of our SLAs. So it's a remarkable thing, but it is the sort of thing that clients that have 10 million customers need in order to be reassured that they can trust the Eagle Eye platform to be their promotion offer engine. Because if it doesn't work, or if it slows down, you get problems at the tills. Your business suddenly is promotion light, which will impact sales. I mean, it's an absolutely core aspect of retail trading, and so our development of the robustness of the core operating platform is a core feature for us, keeping clients happy and keep winning new ones. All of which I think GCP has helped contribute to.
And again, just coming back to the last bit, I mean, you've answered the question really, Tim, but and if you take that kind of data to new accounts, bid in the US, bid elsewhere, I mean, it must be a very different proposition, perhaps, to the one that you had, I don't know, 18 months ago.
We've always been in this space. We're just getting better, but we need to get better. And of course, the reason that we need to get better and more productive is because we can, we were a young business. We can bring our operating costs down, which means that, one of the reasons that we need to be able to do these significant volume increases, but at that low cost, is because it's a competitive market out there. And we've got to make sure that we are, we can price our product in a way that somebody can envisage doing billions of transactions on your platform and being able to afford it.
And we'll now go to Emily Ritchie from Progressive Equity Research.
Thanks. Good morning, Tim and Lucy. What difference do you see between customers of the same type but in different geographies? And I suppose especially North America versus the UK?
All markets are a feature of the competition within that market, and all markets are influenced by the market leader and what they have done. So if you look at the UK market, the UK market has been influenced since 1995 by Tesco Clubcard. And either what is Tesco doing or what is our competitive response to Tesco Clubcard. The US is very different. It's a much, much bigger market. It's a much more fragmented market. Basically, what you've got Kroger doing is exactly what Tesco Clubcard did, including until they bought the business. They were working with dunnhumby as their data analytics partner. So they basically had a mirror image of what Tesco were doing. Pretty much everybody else in the US had a much less centralized and a much more fragmented approach. And their major objective was to raise revenues and create a significant profit pool from allowing brands access to their consumers. So Coca-Cola paying SEG to get access to SEG consumers. It's a very, very different model. It's a model that leads to the existence of businesses like News America in the USA. They don't exist in the UK at all. And what we are helping businesses in America to understand is that we can help them build the capabilities that Kroger have got, but using the business model and the fundraising capability from brands that they've got. But instead of having siloed promotional opportunities, whether it's a siloed contract doing coupon at till, or a siloed contract doing promotions on a loyalty card, or a siloed contract doing email promotions, what we're able to do is to bring all that data into one place and then to allow the data to decide which channel the information should go through. And that's the big new news. So basically, in simplifying, what you're saying to an American business is you can have what Kroger's got and you can fund it from your existing business streams. And we can help you build it in a way which means you can become a truly omni-channel business. Australia is a bit more like the UK. Asia is actually a bit more like the USA. So it varies market to market.
And we'll go to Ross Broadfoot at Investec.
Congrats, guys, on the really good results. So you've obviously added some new collaboration partners, but it would be really good if you could just run through a sort of a worked example of how the News America partnership, for example, sort of how those collaborations lead to revenue?
Somebody, usually but not always, News America will get approached by because they have a relationship with every grocery business in the USA to say this contract's up for rebidding, or we want to look at coupon at till, or whatever it may be. What they then do is they say, yeah, we'd be delighted to help you with that. And in order to do that, we want to introduce you to our partner, Eagle Eye, who do the technology. We then meet the business and meet their technology department and explain how we do the technology. In SEG's case, they had no core data analytics capability. It was all contracted out. And so we said to them, if you want to do this really well and really benefit from the bringing of all your data together in one place, what you need is a great data analytics business, and we can introduce you to one. And we introduced them to dunnhumby, and dunnhumby got brought to the party. Then Acribo got brought to the party because they were needed to help just do the final bit of printing on the paper in order to make the coupon at till project work. So that's how it builds out. And you can see that in some places it might just be Eagle Eye and Acribo. In other places it might be Eagle Eye and dunnhumby. And in other places it might be News America and Eagle Eye. It just depends.
So I was just going to add the financial relationship that we have between the two, that usually it's a referral fee that we would pay if of the first year fees at a standard rate. But in some cases, if we both win, both win the client, then there's no fee paid between the two because we both got the gig, so to speak.
And then a couple of questions just around sort of headcount and capacity. So obviously a small team on the ground now in Australia. It'd be interesting to know how that may or would need to scale up as and when new clients come on board. And then the second part, really, given that you've used some of your UK capacity to help drive the Southeastern Grocers operation, as the world returns to normal and that 10% is sort of less under threat, what will you need to add in the US to keep that moving?
Well, I think those are both good points. And at the moment, we're making an investment in Australasia. And so we have some spare capacity. But if we get a sizable win down there, and we've got a strong pipeline in the APAC region, if we get a win down there, then yes, we will invest to to prosecute that win. But I think that is the Eagle Eye model. What we can do is we can get ourselves in a position to win, and we can start the early stages of an integration by working in this agile way, using group resource as we hire locally and build up local capability. And exactly the same would apply for the USA. So there are good things that we can spend money on as a business, and we will be spending that money as we get the triggers, get the green lights, and Lucy loosens the purse strings a bit to invest going forward. But as yet, I would say we're not holding ourselves back.
Yeah, and I think the US as well is benefiting from sort of the support function that's in place in Canada that can service both the US and Canada. So that is beneficial going forward.
And this question comes from Gareth Evans from Progressive Equity Research. Do you think that the capitalised development costs will continue to reduce as a percentage of revenue, or are there big projects underway which might increase this in the near term?
So I think, as Tim sort of described it, first of all, we're going to continue to invest in the product. It's very important. It's the reason why the big customers go with us, that they're not just buying a solution that's relevant today, it's also relevant for future periods as well. So I would expect that the product investment to continue to go up as the top line goes up, but at a much lower percentage than the top line is growing. So overall, you would expect sort of the amount we're capitalising to increase in the same vein.
Many thanks. That's the end of questions. Tim, do you have any closing remarks?
Just to say thank you all very much for attending. Thank you for your interest, and I hope you found what we had to say useful. I think that in what has been a remarkably uncertain period, and remains a remarkably uncertain period for the world, as we said last time we met, I thought Eagle Eye would be COVID resilient, and I think we're demonstrating that it has been, and I'm comfortable that it will continue to be so. So thank you for your time, and we'll either see you next time or in the intervening period.